Wow, 61 kills. You weren't running any lethal streaks, were you?
Nope. How's it going, guys? Dynamite here, coming to you as always from the Digital Warfare 24/7 forums, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my wish list for things that I want to see in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. We've been hearing more and more about this latest installment in the Call of Duty series, and I just want to go through with you guys exactly what I'd like to see to improve on Call of Duty Ghosts, which was, in my opinion, a very decidedly mediocre release. So I'm going to divide my opinions here up into maps and game types, weapons, perks and loadouts, scoring and streaks, customization and extra features, and connection, and then finally competitive support. So that's a lot to go through, so I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. In maps and game types, I really want to see a lot more of the traditional 3-lane maps that you see used in competitive play. I feel like that's always been a staple of Call of Duty, and sure, it might be good to get 1 or 2 maps that lend a little bit more variety to the layout, but still, 3-lane maps, I think, are essential, and there were not enough of those in Call of Duty Ghosts. They were unnecessarily convoluted. A lot of them were much too close quarters, and I think that also played into why the spawn system was so bad in Call of Duty Ghosts, just because the maps themselves didn't lend themselves well to a good spawn system. And indeed, under maps and game types, that's actually going to be my second comment. The spawn system in Ghosts was atrocious, and they never really seemed to get around to fixing it well enough, or at least they said they would, but it never seemed to get all that much better. They really need to make a more concerted effort in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare to have fair spawns. I mean, when you're watching competitive and people are spawning on the opposing team's blitz goal, you know that there's a problem. So, and then also in domination, just to have the domination points that are captured really have a larger impact on the spawns in domination. That's something that I really want to see too. As far as game types go, I really want to see them bring back Hardpoint. Hardpoint is fun as hell to play, and it's arguably even more fun to watch on the competitive circuit. So that's one thing I'd really like to see back. And then Capture the Flag, another one that I really want to see come back. I feel like Capture the Flag is a staple of first-person shooters in general, not just the Call of Duty franchise, and again, that's a very fun game mode to watch in competitive. Finally, I'd really like to see them bring back Search and Rescue. I think that's one of the few good improvements that Call of Duty Ghosts made, innovations maybe you could say. Search and Rescue is a pretty fun game mode, and I think being able to grab your teammates' tags and deny your enemy tags, I think that adds an interesting dynamic to Search. So it'd be good to see that come back. So the next category I'd like to talk about are weapons. And now when it comes to weapons, I really want to see diverse and yet at the same time balanced weapons. So Black Ops 1, let's take that for an example. Black Ops 1 had very, very low weapon diversity. I think you could say that after they patched the FAMAS, they became pretty well balanced. But even so, I think all of the assault rifles, for instance, had pretty much the same handling, and it was really boring because there wasn't a whole lot to switching between different weapons. I do really like that Infinity Ward, this is probably one of the few good things that they usually do in their games, they usually have weapons that feel very different. And striking the balance has just been difficult for them, getting their different weapons balanced. So if we can see maybe what Call of Duty Black Ops 2 came out with, which in my opinion was pretty diverse and balanced. It was a good mix of the two. Even Call of Duty Ghosts, I have to say, has a pretty decent selection of weapons as far as they're being diverse and yet balanced. So let's see if we can get a little bit closer to that in Advanced Warfare. Another thing I'm looking for is a longer time to kill. I think a longer time to kill makes the game about more than just who saw each other first. It allows for more skill to come into play in the gunfights. I don't like that Infinity Ward releases have tended to have very fast time to kills, whereas Treyarch's have been a little bit slower, so let's aim for something a little bit closer to Treyarch's is what I'd like to see. Moving on, I'd like to see only single-shot pistols and launchers for the secondaries. This is something that was featured in the Black Ops series, and I think it's really, really great. I don't think you should be able to carry a shotgun secondary unless you're using overkill, unless you're paying for that ability. When it comes to balancing the sniper rifles, I'd like to see them get knocked out of scope by flinch. I'd like to eliminate spam snipers that can just be shot very, very quickly without having to aim, and I'd like to reduce sniper hipfire accuracy so that they're performing more within their range. To balance this out, I'd like to see increased sway for ARs and SMGs, obviously more so for SMGs. This will influence both these weapon classes so that they can't compete unfairly outside of their range, say against sniper rifles in this situation. I'd also like the lock-on arc of the knife to be reduced significantly so that a player has to be centered in your field of view for you to be able to knife in. One last thing that I want to talk about in the weapons category is I'd really like for them to display the actual weapon stats instead of stat bars. I mean, a lot of us are going to be intelligent enough that we can understand that a 40 damage gun is going to kill in 3 shots. We want to be able to see these without having to strip the values out of the game code, so that would be really nice. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about perks and loadouts. I'm really hoping they return to the Pick 10 system that we saw featured in Ghosts and then also in Black Ops, because the Pick 10 system has just allowed us to be extremely creative and allowed players to really build classes that are tailored to their own playstyles, and that's something that I really want to see continued. I also want to see them remove focus as a perk and include its effects in multiplayer attributes by default. I don't want you to have to include a perk in your loadout that is basically a must-have. So eliminate all the must-have perks so that, I mean, otherwise it's pointless. Why make it something that you need to equip when everyone is going to be equipping it? And in this case, in the case of Call of Duty Ghosts, toughness is absolutely imperative, or focus as I guess it's called, and toughness in Black Ops 2 was also absolutely imperative to have. So moving on from there, I would also like the actual perk stats to be displayed, similar as how I wanted the actual weapon stats to be displayed. Moving on, I'd like to see score streaks come back from the Black Ops series. I think score streaks really help to make sure that you're rewarded for every little thing you do in the map instead of just getting kills or maybe hopping on a flag at the last second. I want score to be awarded more proportionally too towards effort and contribution towards playing the objective wherever possible. And then in the post-game leader reports, I'd like to see score be the first column in the post-game reports for every game type instead of kills. I think you should be focusing on score per minute. You should be encouraging players to get to the top of the leaderboard by putting up big scores instead of just going on huge kill games without necessarily winning the game for your team. I'd also like them to bring back strike packages, including specialists, but hopefully if they could keep support strictly non-lethal. I think things like the Stealth Bomber in Modern Warfare 3, for instance, are just way too powerful and don't belong in the support package. I'd also like to see them bring back the Blackbird and the VSAT, just because those were some attributes that really forced the game to be faster paced, because it eliminated the enemy's possibilities of using ghosts to just hide on the map, and there'll still be ways to counter the Blackbird, I'm envisioning, say the counter UAV and the EMP grenades, but it's something that I think needs to be brought back. It'll help increase the pace of the game far more. I'd like them to take out field orders. I think that was a really stupid idea implemented by Infinity Ward. I'd like those to be taken out, no longer see the light of day. And then I'd also like no more of those super inexpensive lethal kill streaks like Black Ops 2 had, namely the RCXD and the Hunter Killer. I don't want to see those back in again. Moving on, let's talk about customization and extra features. I'd really like to see them bring back theater mode if it doesn't impact the game's latency, because I know that a lot of people had claimed that theater mode was a big part of why the game lagged as badly as it did in Black Ops, but then again, we still get that same type of lag despite the supposed hybridized dedicated servers, dedicated, non-dedicated system that they have in Ghosts. We're still seeing those really bad laggy kills. I'd like to see them bring back the custom emblem generator. I had a lot of fun designing custom emblems, and I think it really allowed a lot more creativity again. And then increased character customization sort of goes along with that. Player gear, appearance, that sort of thing. The more layers of customization that you can put onto the game without it being over the top or campy, I think is really going to add another dimension to Call of Duty and make it really enjoyable. So I talked about the connection a little bit earlier, but if they could move to all dedicated servers, I'm sure they have the resources to do this. It's something that is desperately needed. They need to fix the netcode, because there are still serious issues in Ghosts despite all of the progress that they've made. I think Ghosts is decidedly a little bit better compared to the Black Ops series, but it has a little ways to go in my opinion. Also, along with that, if they could display the actual ping and the dedicated server ID, if that's applicable, up in the top corner of the screen, or if you bring up the scoreboard, again, that's just going towards the developers recognizing Call of Duty players as intelligent enough to see, okay, so that's my actual ping. It's not just that I have a green bar or a yellow bar or a red bar, and then let players make their decisions on if they want to play the game based on how their connection looks. Finally, and lastly, I'd like to talk about competitive support. So CODcaster mode has definitely made some big strides in Call of Duty Ghosts. That has me really, really happy. But I would also like to see true skill-based ranked matchmaking and support for clan v clan and game battles integrated directly into Call of Duty. I think if Call of Duty wants to remain the big game on the competitive FPS circuit, I think this is what they need to do. So we'll see if they end up coming for that. In the future, guys, I'm going to talk a little bit more about how these exosuits could be integrated into multiplayer. I have some interesting ideas on how I think the developers might be able to make that happen. So stay tuned for that, guys, and for much more as Advanced Warfare gets closer. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Have you heard the news? Everyone's talking. Life is good cause everything's awesome. Lost my job, that's a new opportunity. More free time for my awesome community. I feel more awesome than an awesome possum. Dip my body in chocolate frosting. 3 years later I shot the frosting. Smelling like a blossom, everything is awesome. Stepped in mud, got new